Hi, this is Stephen, and I wanted to talk about how you can use the Wacom tablet with the Mac and change some settings and set it up properly. So I'm using a CTH490. I'm going to go ahead and plug it in. I just opened the Wacom Center, and I'm going to go ahead and plug it in via USB. In a few seconds, you'll see it pop up, and it says it's a CTH490 into SPTS, right? You also saw that it said touch on the screen there. There's a little button in the back, there's a little slider in the back that I can switch from turning touch off to turning it on, right? So I'm going to switch it off for now just to go through some of the settings. And I'm going to go to pen settings here, and it's going to open up the preferences, the system settings, and take you to the Wacom tablet. Right now it's set to pen because I chose the pen settings, but I'm going to go through each one. This is the tablet settings, and this show express view may be on or off. With it off, if I press the buttons on the tablet, which I'm doing right now, you don't see anything, but they do change. If I turn this show express view on and I press one of the buttons on the tablet, you'll see it shows up in the top of the display. So right now, these are the default settings, and I'm on this all other, which means any application that is not specified directly here will use the same settings. So right now I'm on the modifier. So this modifier, the top one is shift. The next one down is option, as you can see. This one, next one on the other side, and the top is the modifier, it's command, and the next one down is control. So they're kind of mapped out how you can see them up on that page. So these are the default ones. So if I hold that and press, a button, it's going to use the shift key as its modifier, right? I can customize these apps. You can see I have a couple applications that I've customized them for. So right now on Maya, I've got them disabled, but I can set them to, say, a right click or keyboard modifiers, right? So I can even add in a keystroke. So I can go back and make the modifiers, somewhat similar. I can use that as shift, and I can choose this modifier for option. These are the defaults. It's just kind of popping up with those defaults, and I'm just letting them choose that. So that can be command, and then let's say for this one, I want to set it as pressure or the display toggle, right? So I can kind of set that and have it different, right? I can also set that to many other things. I can open or run a file or open the Finder. I can choose these things to suit. And so there's also these on-screen shortcuts, which are little shortcuts that I can talk about later. But for now, I'm just going to set that to modifier, and it's going to say control, and click OK, right? So I'm just kind of choosing the same as the all other, but I'm also going to keep on show express view. So I can do the same for others, and I can also add in another application. So let's say I go down here. These are all applications that are sort of readily available, but I can click browse, and then I've got Photoshop here, 2024, and I'm going to go ahead and open that and click OK. And now I can set very specific ones for Photoshop. So let's say on this one, I wanted that to, have the keystroke, right? So I'm going to hold down Command and press Z, and it adds that as a shortcut, and I can click OK. And so I can also go in here under keystroke, right? It's Command Z, but I can type in a name. So I can say that's, undo, right? And click OK. There are clicks where I can do this. There's modifiers. I can just add the undo or redo to that. But that's a different way of, say you wanted to do a different keystroke, you can do that, right? I'm then going to go to pen. And to me, this is where the applications really kind of come in handy, is I can do different things with the pen. So right now it's set to right click on the top and erase on the bottom, right? I like it where I want to have erase sort of, it's the bottom button I can click and erase with, or I could even choose, the mode toggle or pressure hold, but I like it to be erase because the pens for these don't have an eraser on the top, so I'd have to click down to erase. But this one, I'm going to change it to right click. That's kind of my standard default, right click on top, erase on the bottom, right? And then if I go to Maya, I don't need an erase tool. I use Maya. I do use a tablet for Maya, and I can change that right click. I always like the right click on the bottom. I can make this a right click and the top one a middle click. I can set it up however I want. right? And the same thing here, I can change that, right? So I usually I like my erase down here, so I'm going to change this back, right click, and I'm going to choose middle click for that. And then I've got right click, middle click, right click and erase for Illustrator, and I've got the same for Photoshop. So this is a way that I can kind of change the configuration. I can even change the tip feel and how much pressure is being applied, and the double click distance, which is, I can hover the pen over and actually change that double click distance, how close it is to the tablet when I double click, right? That's the tip click, sorry, tip double click, right? And then there's mapping. And so the mapping shows you, how the screen is mapped. I have two monitors right now, but I just want it to kind of go to one monitor, right? So I just want it to go here, and I can force the proportions if I want, but I'm using the full area of the tablet. So the tablet aspect ratio of the tablet might not match the aspect ratio of my screen. So I can either force those proportions to map on the tablet, so I'm going to lose a little bit of the space there, or I can let it go. It's 1-to-1, the corner of the tablet is the corner of the monitor, right? So if I choose a portion, I can also define what portion of the monitor or of the display that I want it to use. And I do keep it on pen. I don't use it like a mouse, so I keep it on the pen mode, so it'll have pressure and all that, right? So I don't map it to the other monitor. You can map it to both, or you can map it to a second monitor. It's up to you how you want to do that, but that's kind of the setup. There's also touch options, how you can use the pointer speed. So this is using your finger on the tablet. It's kind of like a big trackpad. The nice thing about when you do use touch is that you have a lot of these gestures that you can use. Again, I have touch off right now because I don't want to touch on the screen at this point in time. But when I do turn that on, it'll open up all these options for you to kind of use, right? So I can use all these gestures. So I've got it on now, and I can actually I'm just using a finger on this now, and I can tap to click, right? So I can tap to click it there, but I couldn't tap, I then couldn't use it as a click, right? I can double tap, so this is two fingers, tap to right click, swipe left and right to navigate. I can change which one of these I want to see and what I want to use. Three fingers, normally it's going to be a drag, but I can, swipe left or right to navigate or disable it. I can disable the three finger tap, right? When you do that, it does this lookup, and then four fingers, pinch for launchpad and all these different ones. So you can kind of change those if you want to. And then there's the on-screen shortcuts. This is the thing that I was mentioning before, where you can make your own kind of display pop-up. And I can change this to one of the mappings. So let's say I go to tablet, and then I go over to, and I'm just using my finger at this point in time, I'm going to go to all other, and let's say instead of control, I want to make that, the on-screen shortcuts, and I'm going to choose the brush tools for right now. It kind of comes standard. I've made my own, so you might see those. So I'm going to go here, and these are the ones that I should see. And so when I press that button, I should see these brush tools pop up, right? Now I can bring this down a little bit. I'm going to just use the pen to do that. I can bring this down, and you can kind of see where it says, I'm on the brush tools. This, you can see a little icon here that makes it look like little buttons, and that's how this is arranged. Just like little buttons, I can change the brush size, I can change the layer blend, that sort of thing in here, and that's how I can set. I can make up a new one, and I could say, I want, precision mode as one of them, right? And it automatically added it, and I can click OK. So that's the way I can kind of save these different settings, and I can use these depending on the application that I'm in. So I have Adobe Animate tools, so I can add an extra application when I'm using Adobe Animate. There's some common tools. So I'm going to go ahead and close this, and let's say I switch the tablet to common tools, right? And this is a radial menu, so this is a little bit different. So when I tap that button, you're going to see this radial button pop up, right? And so I can exit out. So I just exited out of my settings. And then I could find, redo, paste any of these functions very quickly. I'm going to go back to my settings here because I clicked out of it and closed it. So I'm going to go back and do the radial menu. right? So exiting will exit whatever application's in the front. I can copy, find, undo, paste, all these things, or I can close that radial menu. So these are the all on screen. And I've created some for Illustrator. I have a keypad. There's others. And then I even added Maya tools, pen display modifiers, Photoshop drawing, Photoshop colorist. Some of these came with, some of them I've built, so you can kind of see how these kind of work. Hopefully that helps. This is a way you can customize and save your settings. There's also a couple options in here when you go to this. It's a hover click versus click and tap. I always like the hover click where I hold the pen tip close to the tablet and press a pen button to do a right click or middle click, so I don't have to press the screen and do it, or press the tablet. That's my preferred mode, but you could do a click and tap, which is clicking on that using the button on the pen and then tapping to do, say, the right click. So I'd have to hold the button first and then tap. It's your preference. I kind of like the hover click, so I'm actually not tapping the surface. I'm just clicking in it with the button, and it's right clicking or middle clicking or whatever. I have erase or whatever. So whichever works for you better. I usually have this enabled for more accurate tip release positioning. And so that's way when you pull it up, it's going to still follow a little bit. So that's the way I kind of keep it. And then I can go ahead and click OK and save whatever, one of these settings that I have set up, right? So that's pretty much it for this. If you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, have fun with it, and I hope you enjoy using a tablet.